I think it's fitting that we're doing this show on July 1st because we want to kick June to the curb as hard and fast as possible after the Twins went 9-18. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is LaVelle, Neal, columnist for the Star Tribune. I'm here with Royce, Smalley for this week's Chin Music podcast. Our leader, Jim Souhan, is on vacation, so I am filling in for him this week, coming to you from the Aquarius home studios.
Scott for Aquarius. Summer's all about fun, not flickering lights and faulty plumbing. From fixing that runaway toilet and not so hot water heater to installing generators for whole home backup power, Aquarius has your back. Right now, get $98 off any electrical or plumbing repair. Fast, friendly, and ready to rescue your summer from household chaos. Aquarius. Local, trusted, family-owned, and earning the right to be recommended. Schedule today at AquariusHomeservices.com.
Hey, it's Mark Rosen with a reminder to tune into my weekly podcast, Rosen Sports Monday, every week on Talk North Sports.
This show is also presented by Giggly and Onyx Fish. So we're going to chop it up here about the Twins situation after a horrible June in which they went 9-18. Good riddance to June. We see if they can do better in July. The Twins begin with a 3-game homestand against the Miami Marlins, followed by a homestand in which they play the Rays, the hot-hitting Cubs, and then the Pittsburgh Pirates leading into the All-Star break. But first, we got a little bit of a news here because the Twins just announced that they have DFA Jonah Bride and they have reinstated Royce Lewis from the 10-day disabled list, injured list following recovery from a hamstring injury. Royce Lewis is back into the mix here. We got to have a kind of a broader discussion about Royce, about where he's at with his career. He was Mr. Grand Slam a couple of years ago. He's been beaten up by injuries. Is he still a prospect now, or is he's a guy that's scrambling to recover that prospect status?
I think he is still a prospect, no question about it. He's got an awful lot of talent, and injuries can really derail a guy's career. They really can. He every time he got hot, he couldn't stay healthy. And what happens when you're a young player, it takes quite a few at bats for you to really figure out, what kind of hitter you're going to be, and not just Mr. Grand Slam, but in between Grand Slams. How are you guys trying to get you out? What are you going to do? What are your mechanics? And he hadn't reached that. He's not even close to reaching that yet because of injuries. And what happens is you don't get any kind of consistent reps. You're out there every day, come hell or high water with the bat in your hand, and you learn to work your way through it, and you learn who you are. And it's really, really tough to have great success and then get hurt, and then come back and you can't find it, and then you kind of panic about that, and then you start feeling good again, and then you get hurt, and it's just really hard to develop your consistent mental approach as to who you are as a hitter. I think if he can just stay healthy, he's going to find that again. It doesn't mean it wouldn't do him a lot of good to be in AAA for a little while, finding that out without a lot of pressure on him. But I don't think the Twins have that luxury. They got to figure out an offense, and they're still looking at him being the prospect that can bring a lot of run production.
Yeah, I think can we draw a parallel between him and Byron Buxton? I think we're watching Buxton probably play the best baseball of his career right now. He should be a lock for the All-Star team. He's probably baseball's best center fielder right now. He does have an outside shot at a 30-30 season, which would be rather remarkable. And I think one of the reasons why we're seeing Buxton at his best is because he's been healthy. He's been able to stay in the lineup. He's been able to get consistent at-bats. And he's been able to get in the groove and stay in that groove. And I think if Royce could have a run of health like Byron, maybe we see the Royce Lewis that was once like a top 20 prospect in all of baseball. Can you see a parallel? You can see what Royce is going through and how we're seeing Buxton's success be attributed because he's healthy.
Yeah, it just occurred to me while I was saying the things about Royce that I did, that a month or so ago on this show, I said almost the exact same thing about Byron. And not to be cliche ridden or anything, but it really is true. What I just said about Royce and what I said about Byron, getting consistent reps and really getting comfortable with exactly what pitchers are trying to do with you day in, day out, and how you're combating that day in, day out without any interruptions is really vitally important to a hitter. And I think, yes, you're right. There's absolute parallel. And I think that Royce will get it going again if he can just, please stay healthy.
Hey, Roy, you brought up a good point, too. I was hoping we could expand on, because this is one of my peeves with the Twins organization. And I think it's probably an issue with baseball, too, because veterans or established players get sent down to the minors for rehab assignments. And they prove that they're healthy, but they did not prove that their bat is healthy. And I was thinking here, this could be a time where Royce could maybe spend at least a week or so down with the St. Paul Saints and find his swing, get into the groove, and come back healthy hitting wise, in addition to be healthy physically. But it doesn't work that way, does it?
No, it doesn't, just because of the needs of the team at the time. If you get a veteran player that gets hurt, that was swinging the bat well when he got hurt. Now he's better. He goes down and plays, 3 or 4 games in the minor leagues on a rehab assignment. That really doesn't matter whether he swings the bat well in AAA. I mean, he's swinging the bat well before, and he's a veteran player, knows who he is. He goes down and plays 3 or 4 games. I wouldn't look at, I would rather see him, tear the cover off the ball, but it doesn't really matter if he doesn't. But for a young player like Royce, who is struggling mightily and has been in and out with injuries and all that, and he obviously doesn't have the same swagger and the same feel, that of success when he got hurt, I don't see anything wrong with letting him get some of that back in AAA. I'd love to see him spend a week or 2 down there, and then on a extended rehab assignment, get feeling good, because if they rush him back into the lineup now, there's a lot of pressure on him. He knows what he did. He knows Mr. Grand Slam. He knows how good he was, and he hasn't been anywhere close to that, and the Twins desperately need him to be something like that. He's putting a lot of pressure on himself, and he rushes right back in after hitting $180 or whatever he's hitting, right back into got to carry the club kind of sense. And I feel bad about that. I wish he didn't have to feel that. I wish he could get himself squared away before he came back into hitting against this good big league pitching that he sees.
I agree. Of course, and then he would also feel a little bit better about himself once he returns, if he gets into a groove.
Right.
But things don't work like that anymore, and it bugs me. And to be honest with you, Roy, I think that what's ailing the Twins the most right now is on the mound. The stats show that their offense actually picked up a little bit in June. It's been the pitching staff which posted, I think, a league worst ERA over 6 in the month of June, and that brings us to, I think, the key to the Twins surviving the stretch until Pablo Lopez gets back, and they got to figure out what's going on with Bailey Ober and get it fixed. I think he posted an 8.4 ERA in June, I believe, and he's getting hit hard. He's more base foreigners are getting on base. And it sounds like he's got some sort of hip issue that he's pitching through, but it's not serious enough for them to put him on the IL and address. But what are you seeing from Bailey, and what is not working right now for him?
Well, what's not working is how many balls are going out of the ballpark, right? I mean, he's given up a lot of home runs. And, I've always thought that he was going to give up his share of home runs. And the reason is that his fastball, he's around the plate all the time. So guys are ready. I mean, there's no question about balls being close enough to swing at it, on any given pitch, because he's around the plate. And guys that are around the plate a lot and have straight fastballs are going to let some get in the hitter's happy zone, either down the middle or into a hitter's kitchen. And those balls are going to be, go out of the ballpark. Burt Blyleven was that way. I hit against him, my whole career, played behind him. here in Minnesota. And Bert gave up a boatload of home runs. A lot of them were solo home runs. He'd get me over fastball and get hit out of the ballpark. But when he had to bear down, he always had that curveball coming behind him in the arsenal, and he could spot his fastball and throw that curveball, and the home runs didn't hurt him. Robin Roberts was that way way back in the 50s. Won 300 games, would get 30 complete games a year and lead the league and get home runs given up because he had kind of a fastball that wasn't overpowering. He threw it around the plate all the time. I kind of have always thought that Bailey Ober was going to be that way too. Fastballs were going to get in the middle of the plate. The changeup wouldn't be down in a way to left-handers. They'd get hit. But he had a great knack for being able to not walk people, to not give a lot of guys 2-0 and 3-1 counts, so that with his stuff and his ability to locate the ball most of the time, and with his high fastball playing up, then he could get away with a solo home run here or there, or a 2-run home run here and there, because that was all the other team was going to get, because he didn't put guys on base. That's all changed. He's gone to a lot more 2-0 and 3-1 counts. His secondary and tertiary pitches aren't quite as competitive. They're more in the middle of the zone, or else they're way off. What I've seen, I haven't seen him pitch every game, but for the most part, what I've seen has been the same, where slider and breaking ball to a right-hander is either kind of hangs in the plate in the middle of the zone, or is uncompetitive, way down and away, it doesn't impress the hitter at all, and to set up other pitches. And so that's been kind of it for me. Fastball's in the middle of the zone, changeup not quite as good location-wise, breaking ball's not quite as good location-wise, get himself behind in counts. And then, when those kinds of things happen, then the home runs show up a little bit more, and the double, the hard hit balls show up a little bit more.
A little bit more on Bailey Ober, but first, Jim is going to talk to you about Giggly and OnX Fish.
What I'm going to recommend right now is non-alcoholic. That's Giggly, Giggly.com, Gigli.com. Use the promo code Giggly North to get a discount on your first order. Then if you just pay attention to Giggly on social media or go to Giggly.com, you can find other deals. I recommend starting with their variety pack. They've got 4 cocktail flavors made of fruit juice. They're very healthy. It's low cost, especially if you use one of the promo codes, and they will deliver it to you wherever you live. This is vegan, gluten-free stuff with award-winning taste, crafted from real fruit juices. I love them. I just love drinking something that tastes like a cocktail, knowing I'm not going to be hungover or lethargic or tired the next day. Helps me sleep, helps me relax. They also are now selling edibles and chocolates, other things. Go to Giggly.com to figure everything out. You can get all this stuff at every Quick Trip in Minnesota. But if you don't want to go to Quick Trip, or if your local grocery store or liquor store doesn't carry it, just go to Giggly.com. Order it. No alcohol, no hangover, just giggles. I also want to thank and want to tell you about OnX Fish. The weather is warming up, and that means it's time to put your augers away and it's time to grab the boat. Let OnX Fish help you find the next best bite. The Fish app offers the most comprehensive fishing tool for increasing your success. Use the Fish app to find new places to fish and sort lakes by species, abundance, trophy, and keeper potential. OnX Fish also shows you hot spots, lake-by-lake regulations, and private and public land ownership information. Download OnX Fish on the App Store or go to onxmaps.com/fish to get more information about the app that is changing the game.
Okay, yeah, getting back to Bailey right quick, Roy. The stats bear out everything you're saying. I'm looking at him last year. He gave up 6.9 hits per 9 innings, which is awesome. It's really awesome. This year, it's skyrocketed to 10.6 hits per 9 innings. And his strikeouts are down. He's only striking out 7.2 batters per 9 innings. So, and his walk rate's about the same. And he's given up a few more homers. So, I'm at the point here, though, if there is something bothering him physically, they may be better off just shutting him down for a week or two to see if he can come back at 100% and find his form. I mean, that's what I'm thinking about this. What do you think?
Yeah, it's got to be something. I mean, the stuff the ability to throw good stuff didn't just go away. Yeah, right. I mean, he's not doing it right now for whatever. He's not locating all his pitches like he normally does, and that's why he's giving up those extra hits. It's just too many balls either in the middle of the plate or too many 2-0 and 3-1 counts when guys get, obviously the stats get a lot better when hitters are hitting 2-0 and 3-1 than the other way around. And so something's up. I mean, I know that he was. I heard that he was a little concerned about maybe he's tipping pitches, and I think they would have found that. I think I got to believe they're looking at that really closely, and I really don't think that that's what's going on. I think he's just not sharp at all, and the hip issue. Okay, it's not enough to put him on the IL, but is it enough to cause different arm angles, or is it enough to bother him mentally? So at least subconsciously enough not to have the release point get in the same spot all the time. It might be worth a try. Just why don't we skip 2 starts and then come on back?
Great. That's how I feel. But of course, I mean, someone else has to go into the rotation to replace him. And when I was in Houston with the team, I was talking to some people, and I was asking, well, who's next in the rotation if someone else goes down? They said Andrew Morris, but that was before Morris got put on the injured list. And after that, they said bullpen game. And I was like, oh, no. And
yeah, well,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, we don't want to have 2 bullpen starts just because he's got a little hip issue maybe, but that might be a disaster. But, you're so right about, Pablo going down. I mean, if Bailey Ober's not right the whole season, they don't have much chance.
Yeah, and when he's right, Bailey and Joe Ryan are top 20 pitchers, I believe, in the American League, maybe in all of baseball. Ryan right now, I was doing my predictions for Sunday's column. Ryan's sitting at 8-3 now, and I said he is one of the 7 best starters in the American League. And I checked out the AL roster because I'm always trying to count pitchers. And last year's AL team had 7 starters and 5 relievers, I believe. And I'm like, Ryan's one of the best 7 starters in the American League. And I think Duran's probably one of the 5 best relievers in the American League. So I'm pushing for both those guys to make the All-Star team. I don't know what do you think about their chances in addition to Buck being on the team?
Well, Buck's got to. I mean, how does Buck not start? He's there. There's no question. I totally agree with you. He's the best center fielder in the game right now, and certainly in the American League, and all around. And Ryan deserves to be there, and Duran deserves to be there. I don't know. With this, the way it's selected and stuff, I just don't know. I can see it. I can see them getting snubbed, but that would be a real shame. And in my opinion, I am in total agreement with you about those 2 pitchers.
Yeah, and part of my calculus for this too, also, we're going to have about 5 or 6 guys drop out. They're either going to have to interferes with their pitching schedule, or they got some ache and pain they just want to nurse during the break, and now open up the door for more people. So I would think that would strengthen their chances here. I also worry about the Twins' record working against them as well.
Yeah, I do too. The Twins' record and frankly the lack of media coverage. That's always kind of been the same thing here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's stop complaining about what's going on with this team. Let's talk about one person who's doing the right things here, because I think you called it right. It was about a few weeks ago, we were talking about Brooksley, and you started talking about him in terms of I think you want to see him when he gets a pitch to take a more dedicated hack on it, and I think we've seen that from him lately, and we've watched his batting average kind of skyrocket here lately. His OPS hasn't followed, but the fact that he had the 19-game hitting streak, and Rocco trusting him to bat in 2nd or 3rd in the order. What do you see him from Brooksley these days?
Well, everything that I hope that he would do, he has started to do. And you're right, it's about a month or maybe a little more ago that I mentioned that he gets himself out. Since he's been in the big leagues, up until recently, He gets himself out. He's a good contact hitter. He can hit with 2 strikes, but I just felt like he was hitting like he had 2 strikes when he first stepped into the box. He gets himself out early in counts on tough pitches. You don't have to swing at, and I've always, one of my things is to say, don't force yourself to take a 2-strike swing if you don't have 2 strikes. I mean, it's one thing to be protecting the plate and trying not to strike out. It's another thing to step in the box and not be really aggressive on pitches that you want to drive, and be able to take close pitches so that you don't make a quick out, or that so you don't go 0-1 fouling a pitch off that you didn't have to swing at. And now you're in a hole. And what he's done, the last month or so, has been exactly that. He's not getting himself out early, so he's gotten himself in better accounts. And I do believe that it looks like he's a little bit more aggressive when he does get in good counts, 1-0, 2-0, 3-1. Looks to me like he's doing a better job of looking for a pitch he can drive and then swinging like he's trying to drive it. So I think what we're seeing is the batting average, when it always goes up, the batting average always goes up first, right? You start getting yourself figured out as a hitter, and you start getting more hits. And at least the best way for a young hitter to develop is to develop batting average first, and then have the extra base hit power, the OPS, start coming after that. Guys that come up hitting the ball out of the ballpark oftentimes never really quite figure out how to have enough consistent at bats to hit high enough, for average. They become a power hitter only. Guys that have talent to hit the ball out of the ballpark or to hit doubles and extra base hits and home runs, but they figure out the 2-strike approach and the batting average approach first. More times than not, those are the guys that develop into really good overall hitters. And I think the fact that Brooks is a switch hitter that's starting to find this process for him, both sides of the plate, I think we're going to see him develop into a really good major league hitter.
Yeah, and I'm going to stand somewhat corrective here, because the month of June, Brooks hit 348. He also slugged 533, which I think we would take any month of the year. And his OPS was 908. And speaking with Rocco about a week ago at Target Field, he mentioned that Brooks is about 6'1" and 220. He's no shrimp.
Right.
I mean,
he's a big, strong kid.
Yeah, and so it's coming. And I'm going to throw this at you too. I remember when Derek Jeter broke into the majors, the Yankees had him batting 6th in the order. I remember it wasn't very long, but when Mauer broke in with the Twins, he didn't bat 3rd. He hit his way into 3rd fairly quickly, but I think they've had to ask a lot from Brooks at the beginning by batting him around the middle of the order or at the top of the order, just because out of need. And sometimes, it's kind of, how much do you think that can kind of hurt or kind of slow down a hitter's development when he's put in those spots where there's a lot of expectations at?
Well, again, kind of like what we talked about with Royce, you put a young player into a dominant spot or what needs to be a dominant spot in the batting order, especially when the club's not playing all that well. And I don't care who you are, young players are going to feel that pressure and try to do a little more than what they need to try and do from at bat to at bat. And I think there was a little bit of that for Royce earlier on, but I think he's found his process now. I think he's found he's comfortable that he's going to take good at bats, 3 good at bats out of 4 every night. And that's what it looks like he feels like. And if he's concentrating on that, it's really not going to matter it's not going to matter to him where he hits in the lineup. You can put him at 3rd or 4th or, 2nd or whatever. And before he might have thought about what he needed to do. Now I think he's really thinking about, what he needed to produce. Now I think he's thinking about what his process is, and he's proven it to himself. Those stats that you just had, for the month of June, where he slugged over 500. His OPS was over 900. There's nothing like doing that for a month to make you forget about all that other stuff about putting pressure on yourself to help the team, and all that. I think he's just up there doing what he does now, and the fact that he's been a coach's son, and he's been under the tutelage of his dad, who knows a lot about the game. He's a really mature kid, and once he starts feeling really comfortable with himself, I don't think any of this extraneous stuff is going to bother him. He's had too much training in his whole life.
Yeah, I agree. I just like the way he's headed, man. I like where he's trending. I love switch hitters that can hit for a little power. I think he's going to develop into a 15 to 20 home run a year guy, and him bat at a and I'm not like a batting champion average, but bat in the 280s, which is saying a lot in today's game. So I just like the direction that Brooks is headed here. So let's see if Mike Russo likes the direction that Clamshell Beach Resort is headed in, as he talks about him here.
Hey, have you been dreaming of a lake cabin lifestyle with boating, fishing, and family fun in northern Minnesota? Well, lately I've thought a lot about how cool it would be to have a getaway like so many Minnesotans. And if you're like me, you probably think that owning your own lakeside getaway is beyond your budget. Well, if you think lake cabin real estate prices keep going up, well, think again. This is Russo, and I'm here to tell you there is an affordable way to enjoy a cabin lifestyle and all that goes with it. And yes, I said affordable. I founded a Clamshell Beach Resort, which is located on the Whitefish chain of 14 lakes for you and your family to enjoy. Here's how. Clamshell has lake homes that offer deeded fractional ownership, and the keywords there are deeded and fractional. You own it. Imagine having 5 weeks a year to enjoy Clamshell with its beaches, pool, and lodge that's full of kids' activities. Is golf your game? There's a great golf course right across the road. Like winter sports? Well, you can go ice fishing, cross-country skiing, or snowmobiling right out the door at Clamshell. And there's no maintenance, no grass mowing, no snow removal. It's done all for you. And you can own a share of Clamshell Beach Resort at an affordable price. To learn more about ownership opportunities at Clamshell Beach Resort, go to cottagesonwhitefish.com or contact Pat Egan at 612-220-9819. That's cottagesonwhitefish.com or Pat Egan at 612-220-9819.
And here's John Krasinski talking to you about True Vision.
True Vision Institute in Bloomington. I've been telling you about it for months now. Just a life-changing experience for me to go to True Vision and have LASIK surgery this summer. Everything is easier for me after having LASIK surgery. I don't have the hassles of contacts and eyeglasses. I don't have to worry about going in for annual appointments to get the eyes checked, and also to make sure that I have the latest and greatest style of glasses, and I'm not looking like some washed up 46-year-old like I am, trying to stay ahead of the trends. I don't have that anymore. I'm just going around free and clear without anything on my face. And that's all thanks to the good folks at True Vision. When you go into True Vision, you will immediately notice how welcoming, how warm, how friendly, and how knowledgeable the staff is there. They get you in, they get you checked out, they find the right vision correction options for you. And then Dr. Chu is just world class in how he helps you through the procedure, how he makes sure that he gets you taken care of, and like he did with me. And I've had zero issues with my vision since I had the surgery in July. And I just keep kicking myself and wishing I would have done it 10 years ago. So go to truevision.com and set up your consultation. Tell them the John Krasinski Show sent you, and get on with your life. Make it easier on yourself, and just get to the point where you can kick your own self in the butt and say, why didn't I do this a long time ago?
When people think of the Freemasons, they often think of secret handshakes and unusual hats, and of course, the pancake breakfast. Minnesota Masonic Charities would prefer that you think about the work that they do right here in our community. Places like the Masonic Cancer Center at the University of Minnesota, or the Masonic Children's Hospital and the Masonic Home in Bloomington. They are just a few examples of the important work that the Freemasons support here in Minnesota. As part of the largest fraternal organization in the world, Masons have consistently answered the call when it comes to charitable needs. We look forward to learning so much more about their many programs here in the weeks to come.
Okay, Roy, it's time for our final segment here. And Jim started this a few weeks ago about underrated bands of all time. Last week, I threw out the Tower of Power, which immediately clicked with you, so I was happy to hear that. I think you have a suggestion this week that I definitely am going to approve of as well.
Yeah, I do. And you really inspired me with first with Bob James and some of the stuff that he's done from a jazz standpoint. And then you follow that up with Tower of Power. I go, okay, well, I don't have to be in the rock and roll genre here. I'm a big jazz fan as well. Been listening to jazz music. My dad started me. I started listening to jazz music because I had to, starting at the time I was 5 or 6, because my dad was a big jazz fan, and he kind of got me started. One of the early jazz bands that I listened to that was not one of the more traditional, either big band sound, and my dad listened to, or Dave Brubeck and John Coltrane and those guys. One of the lesser known bands that really put out a lot of great music and spawned great, really nice solo careers by a few of the members, was that they started as the Jazz Crusaders, and it became known later just as the Crusaders. Joe Sample piano, Wilton Felder playing saxophone, and Six Hooper playing bass, and Larry Carlton, the great Larry Carlton, lead guitarist, who went from playing with the Crusaders to being a huge session guy, ended up playing some of the best lead guitar for Steely Dan ever. So it was just a terrific band. And I got so many of my young friends when I was in college and just out of college, and I was listening to jazz music, and they thought I was crazy for listening to jazz. And I said, "Here, listen to these guys." And the Crusaders were kind of a crossover band. They got so many people into jazz music because of their whole sound. It was not rock and roll jazz, but it was really cool stuff to listen to, and a lot of people cut their teeth, as I did, on contemporary jazz when I was growing up, starting with the Jazz Crusaders with all those guys. Joe Sample turned out to some wonderful Rainbow Seeker album. I strongly recommend somebody who just wants some beautiful piano music, kind of jazzy, go buy the Rainbow Seeker from or stream it from Joe Sample.
You know, you mentioned those names. It really hits me because, you know, growing up in my household, my father listened to jazz, going back to Charles Erlin and Nina Simone, and then he was the one who had the first 3 or 4 Bob James albums. So that was my introduction to Bob James. So I listened to jazz in college as well. And, you know, and I had Joe Sample albums. I had Wilton Felder albums, you know. Then I had David Sanborn. I listened to all those guys all the time, you know. I was just kicking myself going, I don't listen to much jazz anymore. It's funny how my musical tastes have migrated from jazz. And then when I worked in Kansas City for 9 years, it was jazz and blues, and then here it's just been blues. But here also I started listening to country music because I had a friend in journalism, and he told me that when he was in college, he took a class on creative writing, and they made them listen to country music for 2 weeks and just focus on the writing and the lyrics, which I thought was fascinating. So I started listening to more country music.
You bet it. My woman ran off with my best friend, and I'm sure going to miss.
Yeah, I hear you. But I think Chris Stapleton's a great singer, and I think Eric Church is a great writer. So anyway, well, that's it for this week on Chin Music, ladies and gentlemen. Jim will be back with us a week from now, and hopefully the Twins will have stacked some wins together so we don't have to sit here and complain about injured players or players coming back from the minors. Take care, everyone.